Early sleepers and trade reaction right now on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Well, actually, I lied. Jamie, it is not Fantasy Football Today in 5. It is Fantasy Football Today in 500. Do you know why?
500th episode?
It is.
Wow.
Our 500th episode of Fantasy Football Today in 5. Very cool.
That seems like it happened quickly.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. But I want to thank everybody for being here, watching, listening, and being part of the show. We appreciate it. Leave us a nice 5-star review in honor of our 500th episode. Now, Devante Parker going to the New England Patriots. What do you think about this for his fantasy value?
It doesn't really, I think it helps him because, clearly if he stayed in Miami, it would be a problem, with just bringing in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and bringing back Gesicki and the addition of Ced Wilson. Obviously, he was going to get lost in the shuffle. With the Patriots, it would not be a huge surprise if he's their best receiver, or at least their second best receiver behind Jacoby Myers. But this isn't exactly the most high-powered passing offense, as we're well aware. He has a hard time staying healthy, so it's a little bit of an upgrade. Like, he wasn't in my top 60 wide receivers. Now he is, I think non-PPR and PPR, he's like 55 to 60 in that range. So this is a boost for him, but not a boost that should make you say, I have to have Devante Parker on my team. If he was on my dynasty roster, I'd be moderately happy because of this situation, but this wasn't the ideal landing spot. You would have liked to see him go to maybe the Packers or, even the Falcons, just where he would get a bigger target share with a better situation.
He's been a bit of a target hog the last 3 years. We'll talk about it more on the full-length show, but the topic of today's FFT in 5 is early sleepers. So give us one at each position. Give me a quarterback sleeper.
Yeah, I think you've heard me say this a few times, and certainly after the owners' meetings. Kirk Cousins is somebody that I'm very much looking forward to drafting with a late-round pick if I decide to wait on quarterback, which I typically do. So, it's a deep position. There's going to be a lot of talented players, and, we'll see what happens with some of the moves that haven't been made yet, Seattle and Baker Mayfield and where Jimmy Garoppolo ends up, all those things. But I think when you look at Cousins now, Mike Zimmer being away from the team, Kevin O'Connell now the new head coach, still great weapons around him. I just think Kirk Cousins has a chance for maybe his best season yet. You might want to say he's a breakout quarterback, but I think just given the nature of where he'll get drafted, he's a sleeper for me.
Give me a sleeper running back.
I'm doing a story on Jonathan Taylor for our magazine, and got a chance to speak to Scotty Montgomery and the running backs coach there. And, this is coming off what Frank Reich said at the owners' meetings about using him more in the passing game. And I think what we get with Matt Ryan is more of a guy, as we know, as quarterbacks get older, certainly ones that are a lot mobile, they rely on their running backs out of the backfield. We saw Jonathan Taylor have a huge role in the passing game last year. They still expect him to be very involved in the passing game, so don't panic there. But Nyheim Hines a few years ago, as we saw, could certainly be a very reliable PPR flex type of guy. And for somebody who is, I think, going to get sort of that throwaway treatment because he didn't have a good year last year in PPR, James White, J.D. McKissick, Nyheim Hines, these guys can have some value, especially if they end up finding the end zone, as we know with James White from time to time. But I think Nyheim Hines can be a 50-catch guy. I think he could be somebody that can help you in PPR more so than non-PPR, but somebody, again, that I'm going to be interested in depending on how late he goes on draft day.
Are you going to rank him ahead of James White?
I do currently have him ranked ahead of James White because I'm a little concerned about White's injury, coming off that scenario last year. So we'll see what happens in regard to his health. But they're very close. They're almost back-to-back for me.
We got a minute left. Give me a wide receiver and then a tight end.
Yeah, Rondale Moore, I think no surprise here. Again, could be a guy that's in a breakout category. But I spoke to Cliff Kingsbury, as we know, last week. I mentioned this. Big role coming for him. Big opportunity. We'll see what they do to fill out their receiving core. But huge opportunity if they use him like a Deebo Samuel, which Kingsbury, sort of indicated. But, without Christian Kirk, they're stepping into that role. No A.J. Green as of now. So DeAndre Hopkins, right now, the only competition for targets was Zach Ertz. And I think Rondale Moore is in a great spot, especially if they use him sort of as that opposite of James Conner, maybe as a backfield threat. And then Irv Smith at the tight end position. I was very fond of him last year. Fortunate injury prior to the season. But again, I think it's going to be a better offense for the Vikings. I think he's better than Tyler Conklin as a talent. And I think we'll see a lot of opportunities coming his way. Somebody, again, you can get with a late round pick, but still has huge upside. Again, as long as he's healthy, but I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, that was someone I was targeting last year for sure, Irv Smith, and unfortunately never ended up being able to play him. So hopefully back and healthy and ready for a big season with your sleeper quarterback. All right, that is it for Fantasy Football Today in 500. Thanks for being here, everybody. We appreciate it. We got another episode for you, breakouts and busts later this week, and we'll talk to you then on Fantasy Football Today.